What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Gainz Podcast. This is Antoine, and I'm with
Roman Long.
And we are, like I said, we're back at it again. Man, I hope you guys are staying good, staying healthy, staying swole, as well as not staying too swole because Roman is getting fluffy, and you guys better watch out. He's evolving more and more each week. So if you're not paying attention, go to his Instagram, check him out, follow him. See the transformation, man. He's going to the whole other level. Roman, can you make some quick comments before we start on that?
Yo, I found my Meganite stone, my Romanite stone, so I'm about to mega evolve. I get a good buddy. He's like he's trying to lose weight right now. He's down from like 242 to 219, I think. Really proud of him. Good job, Joe.
Oh, I was about to ask. Was it Joe?
Yeah. And I'm like, buddy, you better look out. I'm catching up to you.
But yeah, the opposite way. Yeah. He's going down. Roman's going up.
I'm trying to maintain this month, people. I just can't help it. Body weight keeps going up. Keep getting more swole.
Yeah, and I'm looking more. I think Roman might catch up to me. I think I've been weighing consistently 193, and then now today I weighed 191, and I'm like, how? I felt like I was so full last night before going to bed, but it happens. I think it just happens where to the point where you're like, all right, well, I don't even care that much. Let's just keep trekking forward, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's all we can do.
So this week, guys, episode 27. Also, by the way, did you guys check out? We did at-home workout video. Roman's been posting his food more. And also, next week, we got something different. I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen next week if it goes through. Let's just hope the other party accepts. Right, Roman?
Yeah.
We're going to have something different, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, and all that good stuff. But this week, we are talking about cholesterol. This was a fan request. It was actually Sam's dad, but he recently got some blood work done, and he found out he had a little bit higher cholesterol than usual. And he was curious, and he asked me a couple weeks ago, and because of all what's been going on with the world today, we couldn't get it out here as fast as possible because Roman and I did want to do our justice and research this as well as be prepared. So today's going to be all about cholesterol, what it is, how you get it, what are some of the ideas around it, as well as Roman's going to go over some ways to either slow it down, reduce it, / suggestions on way to maintain and control that as well. So, without further ado,
what is cholesterol, buddy?
So cholesterol, what it is, people are like, man, I need to stop eating all those eggs in the morning. And then Roman's sitting here with eating 5 eggs a day, no matter what. Simple enough. Cholesterol is a waxy fat-like substance that is found in the cells in your body. Your body also needs cholesterol to make hormones. So, females and males, that's very important for us. It helps make vitamin D, as well as substances that help you digest foods. So you're like, wow, I didn't know cholesterol. I thought cholesterol was either high or low. That's probably what a lot of people think when they go into trying to worry about their health.
Yeah.
Your body also makes all the cholesterol it needs. And obviously cholesterol is also found in food from animal sources, egg yolks, meat, cheese, and all that good stuff. Sorry, you vegans and vegetarians, you're out. No, I'm just kidding. No, there's always other ways around it. That's just a sarcastic comment. We do support all eating ways in this podcast. I'm assuming Roman does too.
Yes.
But so that's what it is, guys. So what is cholesterol? The quick little definition on there So what is it made out of? So there's technically 3 levels. Before this, Roman and I were talking about how we never heard really of this third one, but it's HDLs, LDL, and VLDLs. VLDLs is something that, I mean, I've had multiple blood tests done. I don't know if I could speak on Roman's behalf, but like, I don't see it ever. I don't know if it's a special thing you have to ask, or you might have to get that, like maybe an alpha recommendation, or maybe you're just maybe so bad out of like whack where you might need it done. So it depends. I don't know even if that's right. Maybe, I mean, I just know it could. It's. I'll just get to it. So HDL stands for high density lipoprotein. It's sometimes called the good cholesterol, because it carries cholesterol from other parts of your body back to your liver. Your liver then receives the cholesterol from your body. So once your body does good with that, then it goes to your body and helps you produce those hormones, and things like that I mentioned earlier. LDL stands for that low density lipoprotein. It's sometimes called the bad protein, or bad cholesterol. Wow, protein. Sorry, I saw lipoprotein and I thought I was going to start talking about protein. My bad, guys. It's called the bad cholesterol because because a high LDL levels could lead up a plaque in your arteries, and you don't want that, because once your arteries are plaqued and covered up, bad things gonna happen. Let's just say that. VLDL stands for very low density lipoprotein. Some people call VLDL a bad cholesterol because it too contributes to the buildup of plaque in your arteries. But VLDL and LDL are different. VLDL mainly carries triglycerides, and LDL mainly carries cholesterol. So VLDL is almost like LDL, but it's carrying a different type of, cholesterol, it carries triglycerides compared to cholesterol. So that being said, we defined what cholesterol was. We defined what makes it up with like the levels of high density and low density. And as well as now, I'm going to tell you like what causes that high cholesterol. So, and also just so you guys know, all this information was found off of Medline Plus. I think it's made by scientists and doctors in some sort. It could have been made by someone else. You never know. But pretty much like is researching like cholesterol. I did like 3 or 4 checks just to make sure like some of those definitions were right. And it was pretty much the same. It was like pretty much the same. But what causes high cholesterol? So now we got like the definition out of the way. We got the levels, what they mean and what they are. What causes the high cholesterol? Unhealthy eating habits. Obviously, that's kind of going to be one of them. That's kind of be the assumption. If you're eating lots of bad fats, like saturated fat, which I don't want to go into too much further, because before this, Roman wants to kind of talk about something like this. So I'm going to leave that one to you, buddy, later on.
All right.
So that's just unhealthy eating habits. That's one of the key points. Lack of physical activity with lots of sitting and little exercise. This lowers your HDL. So HDL, the good cholesterol level. So if you're sitting around, you're not really moving, especially during this time when we're all at home, then these levels could kind of move around and jump around. Smoking is the next one. It lowers HDL cholesterol. And also I read up that smoking, especially in women, can hurt cholesterol more than men. It lowers the HDL, like really bad for women for some reason. I don't know if it's because of the genetic makeup, but all together it's going to lower HDL and raise LDL. So you avid smokers smoking them cigs. Roman vapes here and there. It's all good, but he takes breaks. No, he doesn't do that, guys. Don't even worry about it. But like, be careful when it comes to smoking. Obviously, that's another negative effect when it comes to smoking. Genetics. obviously if your family, if you've seen like your parents, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, they might have had high cholesterol. That might run into the family. Um, but quick note on that, don't make that an excuse. Because like, I mean, if you look up my family tree, I think because of like how people react with exercise slash like eating habits, a lot of this can be lowered by doing those things. But Roman will go over that. I don't want to take too much out of him. Um, also, um, so we went over those factors, and that's like factors of daily life, factors of like genetics, factors that you can do that can raise cholesterol slash like lower HDL levels. Um, this one, I'm going to talk about this one. This next part is going to be talking about what can raise risk of high cholesterol. So now from moving away from those factors of like, hey, I smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, that might raise my cholesterol. Hey, I'm eating terrible, that can raise my. Now this is going to be kind of a way where it's like you're already there. There's like no turning back no matter what, or there's no backing away from it because you can't really control. These are like the non-controllable. Actually, some could be controlled, but the first one, like you'll understand when I move further. So age, your cholesterol levels tend to rise when you're older. So that's something you can't control. Like no matter what, we're all going to get older. If anyone watches like Parks and Rec, Rob Lowe, he he always says that he's going to live to like 150 in the show. So if like he was age 40 in the show, he's probably in like his preteens. So I mean, he might not get high cholesterol levels until he hits like the age of 100, maybe. I don't know. Side joke because I'm watching that during this time.
I do wonder about like age too. If some of that is like life circumstances. So like, I feel like as you get older, you stress about like
a lot
more
of
and more things. Yeah, like finances. Like you stress about like what my kids are doing, family, all that stuff. So I wonder if it's like a combination of like life circumstances, poor eating. I mean, when we look at like when it's something like a third of the American population is considered like obese, like I think like to a certain extent we can say that we're forgetting like the important like ways to like eat, and sometimes we forego like hunger signals, and we push them off, and then like we might binge, those kind of things. So with age in like particular, I wonder, because I'm like not super learned on the mechanisms, but I wonder if some of that is due to life circumstances. So yeah, hopefully like some of the tips that we talk about are able to at least like if you're running into like issues with high cholesterol and you're looking for ways that you can combat this, then hopefully we'll give you some options and some things to look forward to and to try out.
Yeah, no, that's like I said, could be controllable, uncontrollable type deal. So like, like that age thing, it's like maybe, but like, like before what I said earlier, like healthy ways, healthy eating may lead to like, maybe not being a factor because like you've already, you're daily exercising no matter what, like if you're injured or you're, at that old age, doing whatever you need to, right? So yeah, so and then the next one bleeds into heredity. So what I said earlier, genetic makeup, not going to go over that. Next one is weight. And then Roman's going to kind of go over this as well later on, but like being overweight or having obesity, that's not going to help cholesterol at all. Yeah, this next one, it's so weird because like, it's so crazy that this is like one of the factors, and this is on a multiple like research is race. It says certain races have an increased risk of high cholesterol. For example, African Americans typically have higher HDLs and LDL cholesterol levels than whites. I mean, yes and no, right? Because like, I mean, I get it. Like, over the course of like where people came from, that could be, I guess, like a factor. But like
Yeah.
I think most of the time, like now, like that, I feel like that's an old like definition, because think
Yeah.
about it, like we're pretty much all mutts. Like can you, like, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, with all this genetic research that's coming out now, I don't know. Either way, I really, I don't know. I don't know if Roman, if you feel the same way. It's kind of weird. Like that one
Yeah.
is like always weird for me. Like, why
I
is
know.
that in there?
I think actually, like, especially with like some of the research I was doing, I think there like definitely is like a genetic component, but
Hmm.
it's so interesting, like when you talk about um like people in general, person to person we're like so similar to each other. It's
Yeah.
like 99.9999, it's like a ridiculous amount like similar, but like some of those like minute differences do account for like a lot of what's going on like inside of us that like we can't see. And you know, there are like certain activities that we can like do, or like actions we can take to you know, maybe like best like control or manage those activities. But I do think there is something to with heredity with genetics, but I
Hmm.
think it's also a lifestyle factor as well, big time. So, you know, if you're eating like a lot of fried foods and you're taking in like a lot of trans fats, then like that could be really negatively affecting your LDL levels. Um, but you also, um, it was a generalization, but there's a researcher that I was listening to from NIH, and they're saying that about 20% of like the population will have to like worry like big time about their cholesterol levels, like them being like through the roof high no matter what they do. About 20% will almost never have to worry about it. They could like eat all the fried food in the world and they'll be like, you know, they'll be fine. And then like the rest of us, like the 60% of us, have to be like, you know, somewhat weary. So there
Yeah.
there are certain like genetic traits where your body, for whatever reason, it just starts depositing LDL like or cholesterol like into your arteries like it's nobody's business, and it really shouldn't be that way compared to like, let's say like your peer, but that's just like uh, um, a genetic factor, and like the downstream effects are insane. So it's probably a combination of the two.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I figured. It's just, I don't know. It's just weird to see, because like
Yeah.
it's just like, I don't know. I mean, if like you knew like back in the day when like everyone was so like families were all like the same race, like here we have, you know, this that, and they were only mingling between each other, like, yeah, maybe like that's a true genetic makeup like test, like, but like how many tests can we do that like that are full descent these days?
Yeah,
That's what I'm
that's
saying.
true.
But either way, whatever. So next one we're gonna talk about before yeah, last thing before, yeah, last for sure, last thing, because Roman needs to talk. Um, so how is cholesterol tested? So pretty much, um, you have to go in, you have to get a blood test, either doctor recommendation or by yourself. You know, asking your doctor, or you know, there's now businesses that actually can just, you could just pay for the service. You go to and Stan Efferding used to support this a hell of a lot. Roman, you probably have seen this, but like you can go to this like website now, like you could pay for like the panel. You go to like these like they're like more, I don't know how to like define them. They're like more of those like testing places where like they do like drug testing for employment. Cause like I've been to like somewhere that they took my blood, and then like I'm pretty sure I've been there to like do a blood urine test for like a job. So I don't know, like, and they
Like
and these
Quest.
what, yeah, like
Yeah,
Quest.
for
So
labs.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, so like when you go on like a website, and this, you don't even need to ask your doctor at this point. This is like maybe like you wanting to know where your blood work is. But I mean, if you have a doctor and you have insurance, you can easily get their recommendation and just get, you know, just get a, obviously a run through of what your levels look like. But like they will show you like where to go to the closest of where you live or what's preferred, and you can go ahead and do that on your own leisure time. You don't need to make an appointment. Well, you do, but like you could just go there, and they're pretty easy and fast. Like you can go in and out. But I've never done it. I've only done enough when I asked my doctor myself because of my curiosity. But for those tests, high risk is 240 mgs by DL and above, and that's LDLs. And borderline high risk is 200 to 239 for the LDL levels. Desirable is less than 200. Some are different that I've seen throughout the research. But like 190, they're saying is still high risk.
Yeah.
So I mean, I if there's a suggestion, maybe like, maybe try to stay away from that 190 number.
Yeah. So I listened to Vegan Gainz like a lot last week, and
I thought you said you did. I thought you said you stopped watching them.
I know.
I'm telling you, man, it's a trap.
I'll check him out every once in a while, and he does like bring up a lot of good information with cholesterol. And he like brought up a lot of research that was saying like from like an atherosclerosis standpoint. So that is atherosclerosis is like the narrowing of your arterial walls due to essentially like lesions. So it will be a buildup of cholesterol. It'll be a buildup of things like scar tissue. And if you get to like a significant amount, then you risk heart attack, you risk stroke potentially, so heart disease. The numbers that were referenced were extremely low, like numbers that I haven't heard before. So I've had to like go back and try and like verify these. But 50 to 70 milligrams per deciliter is what we're talking about when it comes to virtually no or no signs of atherosclerosis. And you can start to develop signs of it or a narrowing of your arterial walls above that. So that's a number that's extremely, extremely low, which isn't commonly talked about because like the normal amount that's talked about is, maybe like the normal ranges or the levels that we're seeing aren't what should be considered healthy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think the point you're getting at too is like maybe we need to just update that stuff and like kind of get a better look at it, because like even with like blood tests from like doctors or from like, even if you do like remember the yearly thing for insurance, like isn't really talked about it too much. Like do they like understand, or like maybe it could be better, like no matter where you're at in life. So I get it.
Yeah. So like I don't say that to like scare any of our listeners. I say that because that's like a number that is like, oh my God, that's so low. How many people like would actually qualify for that? Or not qualify. It isn't a sweepstakes. How many people would be in those ranges? So what to take of that is, okay, so you hear your cholesterol is like above that, like 70 milligrams per deciliter range, or your LDL, for example, and you want to get it down. So take some of the things that we talk about, like maybe potentially increasing your monounsaturated fats. Okay, what are we looking at? Olive oil. Add like a teaspoon of your olive oil to your breakfast. Maybe you make some eggs, because you see that I'm making eggs in the during breakfast. So you add some olive oil to that. You have half an orange. You have a glass of milk, and you have 2 slices of wheat bread and lemon curd, because you love lemon curd. Boom, like that's totally nutritious breakfast, and you're taking one of those proactive steps to try and either reduce your LDL or increase your HDL to lower your overall. I think another important ratio that's looked at is HDL to total cholesterol ratio, because when from like a personal training perspective, if we were ever to do like if we're going to onboard a new client or customer, what we'd want to do is look at their cholesterol to see if they're potentially like hypercholesterolemic, meaning that they have high cholesterol, and that could also be indicative of hypertension. So we would also want to like take their blood pressure, etc. And or like if they said like, hey, I'm just like stage 1 hypertension, they say like, okay, we want to make sure that we like are we're diligent about like assessing you and then like also training you, because we might have to refer them off to a specialist.
Yeah.
So those are like what are considered risk factors. If you have a HDL that's above 60 milligrams per deciliter, that's actually what's known as a negative risk factor. And you can take that, and let's say that somebody is like stage 1 hypertensive, where I think it's you're looking at like let's say like a blood pressure of like I think 140 over 100, I think would be considered stage 1 hypertensive. Then you'd be able to essentially like wipe that risk factor. And if they had no other risk factors, then you could say like they're a relatively like healthy client, and you can train them how you train any other client. But if they had multiple risk factors, like they're stage 1 hypertension, like hypercholesterolemic, they were like they had a metabolic condition, like they're type 2 diabetic, then it might be a situation where like, hey, I need to make sure like this is like beyond my scope of practice and training you. I need to like have a conversation with your doctor about what I would recommend from like a training perspective, and how I can like strengthen you, like strengthen like the things that you want to get stronger, and make sure I'm not putting your health at risk, because that's really important in assessing like the individual and making sure that you're doing like as best as you can, like you're giving them that like holistic assessment and ensuring that you're not going to like be putting their health at risk. So one of the things you can do is you can increase your monounsaturated fats. So add some olive oil. You can look at adding in exercise. I think the American Heart Association recommends at least like five days where you're performing a minimum of 30 minutes of physical activity. So that could be walking, that could be going for a jog, it could be going for a bike ride. And then I think they recommend 90 minutes of vigorous activity. Somebody fact check me if I'm off there, but that sounds about right. So exercise has the ability of increasing your HDL, which also improves that HDL to total cholesterol ratio. You can try and lose some weight. So if you find that your doctor tells you you're a little overweight and you could lose some weight, and that's a goal that you set for yourself. We've given a lot of different free information through our podcasts, and we'd be like more than willing to like help people also like moving forward with like different strategies on how you could do that, changing your diet up, trying to fit like exercise into your routine. Little things like that can make a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing the rest I was gonna suggest is like you kind of went over the HDLs as well as Roman and I also saw that it said that for testing it says 4 to 6 years. So in my mind that seems kind of long. If you don't see, I think we should take health a little bit more higher up when it comes to like priorities. So, I think once a year would be a good suggestion. Do you have a different suggestion? I thought, maybe once or twice a year would be good. What would you suggest?
I'd probably say once a year. Any more than that, it's I don't know. There's a lot to it, but I'd say like any.
There shouldn't be a lot of, as I say, there probably isn't a lot of changes after, if you did it twice in a year. That's why I think a year would be good, because like, if you do a cut for a year, if you do a bulk for a year, like you can see where you're at between both of them, right? So
and also like, so like the difference, I think like from like a health insurance perspective, like most health insurance, and like obviously verify this with your health insurance, this is like a recommendation at all, this is just like generic information I've heard, will cover like one blood panel a year. So just make sure you ask your doctor like, hey, is my cholesterol being tested? In testing my cholesterol, I'd like to see like total cholesterol. We also include like VLDL and like the appropriate ranges, LDL, HDL, and then do you have any recommendations for like ratios such as like HDL to total cholesterol? Like what would you recommend? Start up that conversation with your doctor, because hopefully you maintain that doctor for quite a while, and you can have that beneficial, healthy conversation with your customer, like how can I improve like these scores if they need improving, and if not, maintain those those routines or those habits that you have, so that you can maintain that high quality of life.
Yeah, and then another thing about testing as well, doctors recommend non-fasting, meaning the lab will only look at like total cholesterol, and it's sometimes HDL. I'm pretty sure it is pretty much total cholesterol and HDL as well. If a doctor suggests a fasting cholesterol test, they might be looking at like the whole lipid profile. So like it will analyze LDL, HDL, triglycerides, and total cholesterol. So that means you'll fast for about 9 to 12 hours before the test. So, I mean, for that one, easy enough. Just try to schedule something in the morning. And then just like once you wake up, try not to eat and then just take that blood test. I mean, in my opinion, that might be a better one for overall, but like if for some reason the insurance doesn't cover it or if you don't need it, just do the non-fasting test and then just get total cholesterol with your HDL. I think the only thing that added on there was triglycerides, right? Unless there's something else on there.
I think you're right. It's so interesting. I saw that too, and I really don't know the reasons exactly behind it. I can speculate from like things I've heard. So I'm curious about the doing non-fasted, because I think like postprandially or like post meal, like let's say you ate a meal like 2 or 3 hours before you get the test done, I believe like your the overall like fat in your blood is like, if you have like fat in your meal, is like pretty significant. It's like pretty high. Like if you were to draw blood, you'd be able to tell a difference from like what the blood looks like decently like recent after a meal versus like let's say fasted for like 12 or 16 hours. Like the color is like totally different. Just because like the you'll have like more fats potentially like in your blood. And then fasted is really interesting because I was listening to like a podcast. This was a while back, but it was I think it was an MD that was like really interested because they like got wicked into like keto. So they were really interested in like testing their like ketones or like blood a lot, like every day. And they tested like a whole bunch of different variables, and they were testing like at different like time cycles of like how soon after they had eaten a meal. And they had found that like for certain people, when they're fasted, your body needs to be able to transport different energy sources throughout the blood, especially dependent upon like what like the energy like mixture or makeup is. So like, for example, if you like crushed a workout and you had like a tiny meal like right afterwards, and then you went to bed, and then you like got a blood test like earlier on in like, or like later on in the morning, then like your glycogen stores could be like fairly low, so your body might be like utilizing more fat for fuel for like various like metabolic functions, and just like regular like day-to-day needs. And you could have like elevated like cholesterol levels because of that. So it was like so fascinating. I'll have to pull it up and maybe we could reference it like in another podcast or something like that. But I would say, just because I'm totally speculating, go off of whatever your doctor says. If they say do it fasted, don't be like, oh, Roman of the Gainz Podcast said like do what your doctor says. Okay, folks.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense because like even with like I heard from like hormone testing, it could be different throughout the day, after a meal, and stuff like that. So like, I don't know. I really wish there was like a general recommendation. So like, once you like take the test, you like kind of do some searches. You're like, should I have done my hormone tests in the day or the night? Because like, I mean, obviously a lot of people don't know this, but like I've taken a couple hormone tests with like my blood work because I did compete in bodybuilding. So like that definitely took like a hit, and I was trying to see where my levels were at like 6 months after, or like the next month of competition. So disregard that. It's just an additive note to what you were saying, Roman. So no, but this is awesome. Anything else you want to go ahead and add, Roman, to this? Like I think we're nailing this one.
Yeah, I think just one other thing. So the liver is like really important in all these like metabolic functions that Antoine like did a great job of like covering like LDL, HDL cholesterol, like VLDL, etc. So it's important that we take our liver health into consideration. And like a big thing is, like one thing that I saw on this article, and like we've all heard probably, is like moderating our alcohol intake. So it's so funny, man, but like moderation is key. That statement like keeps coming up in my life like so many times in so many different like really powerful ways. But I think it is really true that we need to moderate like a lot of things we do. If you like really crush it in the gym for too long, then your body like starts to act like a old crotchety man, and you start limping all over the place. And if you like take in too many like calories at once, because like I'm gonna eat big to get big, then you just end up getting fat, and you're like dissatisfied with like the aesthetics of the look. So one thing that like I kept on running into, and like I read an article about this morning, is it was just like talking about like moderating our alcohol intake, because our liver is functioning all those alcohols, and it's really important that we keep our liver in check, and we keep it nice and healthy so that it can do what it needs to do. It can send out cholesterol when our body needs it for like the various like metabolic functions it needs it for like creating various hormones that help us grow muscle, like testosterone, help like regulate like other like cholesterol levels, or like HDL or whatnot, like with estrogen, etc. Like we need all those hormones, so it's really important that we keep our liver nice and healthy.
Sweet, you guys heard it first. Don't drink too much on the Gainz Podcast. But awesome, guys. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said in the beginning, and like I always do, please follow us on Instagram, on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Hopefully, I'll be able to get another workout at home post going on, and then another video edit to the YouTube. So let me know what you guys think of that, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.